Uh, for the benefit of the new entrant, I'll just give a 5 minutes overview. Okay. Out of the 4 Purusharthas which are mentioned in our Shastra, to name them, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So Dharma, Artha, Kama constitutes of worldly life, where we look for Ananda based on events, Vishaya Ananda. And a person who becomes a Viveki, understanding that this Ananda, what one is facing, is Anitya, quite temporary. The one who has understood this and who wants to have a permanent Ananda, that which lasts. And he is looking for that Vastu or that Ananda which is going to be lasting forever. So it was mentioned that moksha as the pursuit is the ultimate Purushartha, and one has to pursue that. And the best pursuit is possible when one gets this human form. So getting this human form was hailed as a blessing. And in form, a jiva who has taken this form should not out on the doing moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama have always been the pursuit in all other bodies as well. Moksha is a distinct thing which is possible only through this vehicle of human birth. And it was mentioned that one should recognize this need and pursue and do what is supposed to be done to get moksha. And what is moksha? Moksha is to get that vastu or understand that vastu, understand truth, whatever be its nature, understand truth as to what is that permanent thing, what is that permanent situation. So since we want to get out of anityatva, anitya means impermanent. So we want to get into nityatva. We want that nitya vastu, that pursuit. So it was also mentioned that there are 2 parts of this pursuit. One is where a person, a sadhaka, the person who is pursuing this is called sadhaka. The sadhaka has to follow certain austerities, and these austerities are given this term sadhana. And sadhana can be given in different models. In Vivekachudhamani, which we are going through now, written by Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he has used the model sadhana chatushtaya. So he has used this terminology sadhana chatushtaya. It can be given in any format. Shankaracharya ji has chosen to give it in this nice capsule called sadhana chatushtaya. So this set of austerities have to be followed in order to purify one's mind. So sadhana will only help that much. Now, having obtained a nice antahkarana means the internal instrument, tool. This is mind and intellect. Bahyakarana is body. So the antahkarana is mind and intellect. So having purified this mind, you are ready to launch yourself. So then what we need to do, to a larger extent, it becomes simultaneous. But the sadhana dosage and the purification of mind should have already reached some level, even to have mumukshutva. If a person in this birth recognizes mumukshutvam, means being free from any limitation, free from bondage, if it is already recognized by a person in this birth, to that extent itself, they've already crossed the bridge. Normally, this recognition will not be there unless there was sadhana on their part in this birth or in their previous birth. Unless that sadhana was already there, it's even difficult to get into a better dosage of mumukshatva. Every jiva is a life form, and jiva is connoting the person who owns that, who thinks he is owning that particular life form, limited within that boundary. That is the jiva, the entity. We call it corporate entity with a PAN number. So like that, jiva is an entity who is clearly identifying himself as separate entity from others, and who is feeling he is stuck and he is limited within this particular body, mind, sense complex. So the moment this boundary gets formed, automatically this comes with the great force to go back to its original self, which is Nityatva. So the moment, for example, when we fill air forcefully into a balloon, why do we tie it? We tie that mouth, from where we blow that air. We tie it only because, as per nature, as per Prakriti, that air cannot sustain inside. Its tendency is to come out. So there is something called atmospheric pressure. That atmospheric pressure, whatever is there, that will play a role. Now, when you have filled air into that balloon has its own wall thickness, and it has this nature to expand. This is the reason it is expanding. And in a way, we are able to captivate air into this, which otherwise normally is not possible. Air always flows freely. You can't captivate it. Of course, you can have a tempest, but that is at its will, not our will. So, when you blow air into this balloon, it is something opposed to its nature. So, balloon's tendency is to stay in the shape what it is. When you buy normally, it is that whatever shape it is. That's the nature. It continues with normally. And air's nature is to flow. Now, we interfere and blow this air forcefully into this balloon, and balloon inflates, and we tie the other end of it in order to stop air from escaping from there. Now, in this case, there is a innate tendency of air to come out, at the same time balloon to collapse to its original form. Just like this, when a jiva gets encapsulated in a balloon you can take it as a human form or any form, including amoeba. Or if something is lesser than that also, we know unicellular. If, for example, they find out half cellular, I don't know how it will work, but that can also be taken as a jiva. Wherever this sense of me is there, I is there, as a limited I am this unit, I am India, I am Maharashtra, I am Pune. So this bondage what is created, those are all more emotional bondage, and here it is a quite natural bondage which is created, and each one subscribes to that. Especially when someone is checking, when a neurologist checks, he pricks somewhere in the toe, here, everywhere, and you would exactly respond. If, of course, the nerves are working well, you will say that yes, it is pricking. So you sense everything. Of course, when the nerves, they are working well, you sense everything that extends to the extreme of your skin, wherever it extends. Everything inside up to the level of skin where your boundary is, you sense. And of course, you also sense certain things which is little bit away, kind of, which is not seen, like heat. You sense it because heat is not seen, but it is touching your skin. That's the reason you are seeing. So obviously, our sense of being a unit, being me and others, the boundary is almost up to the outer layer of whatever we are. Even amoeba has the same idea. That is the reason an amoeba has to move towards food. It goes towards food in capsules, and once it closes, I believe the job is done and it eats. So that way, it has a different system of eating. Actually, it just goes around the food and encloses it. That's all. So amoeba is moving to fetch its food only because it knows that it has a boundary and the food is outside of it, and it has to become inside. So it's very clear that even amoeba knows, even that amoeba has that idea of me and others. It's very clearly it is there. Same thing applies to us also. Any jiva has this boundary, and this boundary is bondage. This boundary is bondage. Shastra is saying that one is naturally free. That's what we are going to see. And it is saying that it's just that due to ignorance, this wrong identification, creating this wrong boundary is there. All that you need to do is to erase the boundary. You do not need an eraser physically. You need this eraser of Shastra alone to get that knowledge and kill ignorance. And ignorance is in the form of a wrong self-identification. This is what was pointed out by Shastra. Now, the pursuit of moksha is to recognize that nature of pressurized air inside the balloon, where the recognition is there that yes, I want to be free. That's all. So if the balloon has to be free, luckily balloon's ignorance is everywhere. Luckily. So just one poke, if it just goes and comes across one needle, anywhere, ignorance is gone, it's free again. So in the case of that was an inanimate object, so the example was much easier. In the case of a jiva, there is something called the sense that is happening. A person is behind this, so that person cannot be just nullified, made zero so easily. Whatever be the case, the person is a person. He is talking, he is walking, and he is doing everything. He is suffering, he is happy, everything is happening. So this person cannot be said, when people come to a class, even Shastra cannot say, hey, come on, you are that Brahman only. Tattvamasi, what is the big deal? This is the only statement I want to give you. Go back home, be happy. So this one-liner does not help. This is the reason you have pages and pages of Shastra. This was also the reason as to why in Bhagavad Gita you have almost 900 verses. Arjuna kept on asking questions after question, and after every answer he had another doubt. Ultimately, until the time he was completely satisfied with no more questions, no more doubts left, that's when the Samvada ended there. So Shastra is presenting that recognize this need to be free, and you want to be free because you feel you are bound. And when you get into Shastra, it says first you follow this austerities, sadhana, get a purified mind, because what is being said later is different to gulp. It's very different to gulp, at least by a jiva. Shastra is going to reveal that, boss, you are that everything from which everything is coming out. Whatever you are saying as a problem is all from you only. You are the author of all these things, what is in front of you. That's what Shastra is going to say later. So, for that to happen and to occur in our mind, that mind has to take that form befitting this knowledge. This is the reason Shastra says, boss, you have to first purify your mind, even to take some of the preliminary things which I am going to tell you. So sadhana is so important. Sadhana Chatushtaya was mentioned, and I can just name them: Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shatka Sampattihi, and Mumukshutva. These four. And out of these four, the third one is a subset of 6 values. The subsets are Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. Maybe later I can, most of you know this, even from the book as well. You can delve later. For new members, I can send a photocopy of that from Tattva Bodha book, which is more little summarized one. I'll send it. So, Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti, Mumukshutvam. So, Viveka is the starting point where the first guidance we get is this. There is only one Vastu which is Nitya. There is something called happiness, Purna Ananda. There is something called, it can be a person or whatever it is. There is something called some permanent thing which is there, Nitya Vastu Vekam. And you just give a name. Brahman is the name actually. Nitya Vastu Vekam. Brahma. We should not confuse this with the role holder Brahmaji as a creator, not that Brahma. Brahman is Nirguna Brahman we are talking about. So, Nitya Vastu Vekam. Brahma. Tad Vyatiriktam Sarvam Anityam. Apart from that, everything else is unreal. This is Viveka. This is where the direction of our the inquiry process begins. And Vairagya is basically the ability to give up the karma phala. Iha swargeshu, iha swarga bhogeshu icharahityam is a simple definition given in Tattva Bodha. So, Vairagya is the capacity of a jiva to be able to give away the fruits of one's action, either here or in the next world. So, you can see people who are craving for awards. So, one prominent gentleman from US who wants to perhaps, get this Nobel Peace Prize or whatever, and he's kind of saying that he's brokering peace everywhere. This is one example we can see. And this is more a judgment from our side. We do not know whether that is the case, but then we can take it as an example because it's happening. Everyone knows, it's in the newspaper, social media, everywhere. So, one wants recognition. So, a person, when he does something, normally he expects results. And the results or benefit to himself or the near and dear ones. Whatever he feels is good is what that means actually. Many a times we say that I'm fine if I don't get anything. I'm quite charitable. I'm fine if one of the members in the society whom I know, this person has been suffering. So that person, if he gets that money, I'm quite satisfied. So normally while saying this, the person may give a opinion or a feeling that he is quite charitable and he does not want money, he has Vairagya. No, actually he is having the benefit of the satisfaction coming out of it when the other person is gaining. He gets this phala in any case, automatically. So that is there actually. There's one statement which I had mentioned earlier actually. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Anything that we do or anything that we abstain from is meant for one's own happiness. If I have 100 rupees and want to have it with me and feel happy by having it, it is meant for my happiness, for me. Similarly, if I want to give it away to another person, it is also meant for begetting happiness through that action. By being charitable, I am happy. That's what it means. So everything finally comes back to oneself. And the statement is a very matured statement. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything becomes likable to a person for one's own sake. All that we say, I'm doing for the other person. I've been living 50 years for the other person. Is all misplaced understanding. If a person is living for another person for 50 years, all the while this person has been happy doing that job. The moment you are unhappy doing a particular job, you will stop doing it. This is what will happen. So that one has to understand. So, Viveka, Vairagya. Vairagya is the capability and the capacity to give up the karma phala. Karma phala may accrue, definitely it accrues. Karma always produces a result. But the person who is performing doesn't care about what's happening. He just does a karma phala tyaga. So when we do a karma phala tyaga, you are not expecting a gross result in this world. Not only that, you are also not expecting punya. So normally what we do, many a times we do something to gain punya. And these punya, we have seen that they do fructify as a good situation sometimes, right? Many a times we have seen this. So this is what is called adrishta phala. Adrishta phala is that where the cause-effect relationship is not in this birth. We all know many a times that when we get some results, it is quite disproportionate to our efforts. Most of us would have seen. The same thing would have been the other way also. The result, okay, whether the result is positively seen or negatively seen, whichever way it is, many a times we get disproportionate result. And when you get disproportionate result, automatically this means that karma from our old baggage is fructifying. So they also keep fructifying, and we keep creating even more karma in this birth. So adrishta phala is that where we are not able to place the cause and effect relationship within this birth, either due to lack of memory or because it was not in this birth, it is more from previous birth. That's the reason. From the opening balance we call it. So accounting, very nicely explains all these things. So people who are accountants will understand this well. So karma, I think we should start a course called Karma Accounting to teach everyone about that actually, how it works. Debit, credit. So a person can, the person for getting that chitta shuddhi can practice this vairagya to get that purification of mind. And what is vairagya? Do whatever you have to do, leave the result, and you do not want the phala out of it. Whatever happens, happens. So that power is vairagya. Then you have Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, starting from Mano Nigraha, which is controlling mind, and it goes on. And last one is Mumukshutvam. In fact, Mumukshutvam is what is bringing you to this body of knowledge itself, though it is mentioned as the fourth one. If Mumukshutvam is there, then they will connect with the like-minded people who can help in this. Automatically, they will be in this path of Vedanta. That would normally happen. Yoga, Vedanta, whatever. Wherever you find that Shraddha, you will be getting it. So this is the model given by Shankaracharya by the name of Sadhana Chatushtaya. And I keep mentioning Sadhana Chatushtaya very often only because unless sadhana is followed, this vichara, what is going to happen, will not be fruitful. Okay, the second part is vichara. I mentioned there are two important parts. One is purifying one's mind. For what do we purify our mind? There should be some purpose. That purpose is basically to then listen to Shastra in terms of what Shastra has to say about the ultimate reality and about the temporary reality, what we see. So the Shastra is taking up everything that we perceive for discussion, and it is showing the impermanence of most of the things which we discuss about, thereby arriving at that permanent vastu. Permanent vastu is not a time bound or space bound vastu which can be gift wrapped by Shastra with a nice ribbon and then given to you with a Om inscribed on it. It is not like that. Had it been like that, I'm sure people would have started that business also. So they would have put a value also to it. Okay, this $1 million, you get this moksha. Unfortunately, that is not the case. One has to really work towards it. It is arising out of self-ignorance, and self-ignorance definitely requires knowledge as an antidote, because ignorance can only be killed through knowledge. So knowledge is the only solution for this and not action. So these are basics which one has to really understand. Chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastu upalabdhaye. All actions, they can only maximum get a purified mind. Chittasya shuddhaye karma na tu vastu upalabdhaye. Certainly, it doesn't fetch us that vastu. What is the vastu we are looking at? We are looking at that nitya vastu. Natu vastu upalabdhaye. It does not fetch that. Vastu siddhihi. Okay, getting the vastu, how does it happen? Vicharena, only by inquiry. This is why inquiry is very important. Vastu siddhihi vicharena na kinchit, not even a little bit. Karma koti bihi. Crores of karma you perform, you will not get this vastu siddhi at all without vichara. Vastu siddhihi vicharena. This is the reason we are coming to this satsang where we are giving introduction, where Shankaracharya is giving introduction to the entire pursuit, where he is saying that, boss, please understand these things, basic things, you should do sadhana, and then you should also listen to the next verses which talk about the impermanence of things which you are talking about, and also the permanence of things. So it is differentiating all this. So this is vichara part. Do this, pursue this simultaneously. This is the only model in which it will work. So in this model is called Triputi, they call it. We package all the problems, all these things what we can see into three. One is the person who's inquiring, sadhaka. And he's inquiring about what? Something else, right? Basically samsara, this world, that is what is so big for him, right? So that world becomes, samsara is world actually, that becomes the second thing. And the third thing is an inference. All of us have this inference that definitely there is one creator who is creating all this. Without a creation, all this doesn't come. So that presupposed idea that yes, there is a creator behind this, and who has to be ultimate of this power, he has to be definitely. So that creator, that is the Nityavastu basically, is the third one. So this Triputi model is used, wherein Shastra analyzes what is world, how world comes about, and how it is anitya. It says that, and then it already mentions as to what is the swarupa of this ultimate cause, the one who's creator. What is that swarupa? He is beyond guna, the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, is always there. So it is all mentioned on this side. And when it comes to the self part, it takes the model of either Shariratraya or Panchakosha. So this body, in terms of Shariratraya, three kinds of bodies. It can be split into Sthula Sharira, which is gross body, which can be seen. Then Sukshma Sharira, which is subtle body, which cannot be seen, but then we understand that yes, it exists, mind and intellect. And then the causal body, which cannot be perceived easily. It is only inferred because Shastra is saying that, and it can be understood only in our deep sleep, when mind is resolved. So Karana Sharira. So Shastra introduces these three, and it introduces these three only to make us understand that we are apart from all these things. That's the reason it is introducing actually. So it is threadbare, dissecting or whatever, multisecting our body, either in the form of three bodies, Shariratraya or Panchakosha. Panchakosha is another model where the shades are a little different. Gross body remains the same, so that is Annamaya Kosha. But then when the subtle part comes, then you have some more shades actually. So instead of three, it splits into 5. So Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So it splits this into this 5 model. And why 5? Okay, the more a person can get doubt, the more a person can identify some of these facets of himself within himself. Those wrong identities as a possibility are brought out and killed by Shastra. To a larger extent, a person would not even know that, okay, oh God, okay, I have this mind, I have this sheath, that sheath, not even know most of the times. But Shastra introduces all this to make it very clear that all this you have in you, and you wrongly identify with each of these layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you are not any of this. So that's what it's arriving at. So we dealt with the first 4, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, where it explained what these koshas are, and then it was also explaining why they do not befit to be this Atma, which is the ultimate, which is beyond destruction and beyond change. So from the person's perspective, sadhaka's perspective, Shastra is showing all those areas where we commit a mistake of identifying ourselves with those sheaths. Kosha is a sheath, you can call it a so-called covering, is a sheath. So like a bubble, you can say. Bubble, howsoever impermanent, but then it's a bubble, it has a form. So similarly, howsoever subtle we may have a boundary, it's still a boundary. So that has to be called out very clearly. Only then you will know that, okay, I have this problem as well. I'm also mistaking here as well. That you know. So the first 4 was explained and also dispelled to say as to why it cannot be the Pratyagatma. Now the fifth one is being taken. This is Anandamaya Kosha. This is where we are, and that's the context. I'll read this verse. Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanurvrittihi Tamojrumbika Syadanandamayaha Priyadi Gunakaha Sweshthartha Labhodayaha Punyasthanubhave Vibhati Kritinam Anandaswarupaha Swayam Sarvo Nandati Yatra Sadhu Tanubrinmatra Prayatnam Vina. So I'll read the immediate translation from this as well. The Anandamaya Kosha is a mental modification born of tamas. It is pervaded by reflected Ananda, possessing the attributes as Priya, etc., and rises with the gain of a desirable object. For those who have done good deeds, it shines at the time of experiencing the punya. At that time, everyone who has a body rejoices well without effort, becoming that very Ananda itself. Okay. So, when we use this word Ananda, it can be seen in two ways. One is the ultimate Ananda, which is Swarupa Ananda. So, that Nitya Vastu is of the nature of Ananda Swarupa itself. It was already mentioned earlier. Now, this Nitya Vastu is a given thing, it is everywhere. Just like the way space is inevitable as an ingredient in any being for that matter, whether it is animate or inanimate. Being normally we use for an animated object, you can say. But even for Jada Vastu, space is a given thing. The starting point is that actually, without space, you can't imagine anything for that matter. No boundary is there because you need to use this space. And this space itself has no boundary. That's an amazing thing. You create all boundaries, all jivas in this space which has no boundary. Here there is one trick one has to understand. Just like the way space becomes the starting point, the basic unavoidable point for any being to come out, whether it is Jada Vastu or a Chetana Vastu. Just like that, Chetana, which is Chit, is the main ingredient for any Jiva to happen. Jiva is that which has all this kosha, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, it has this mind, it has intellect, all this ability in terms of bodies. These are amazing bodies. There's nothing wrong in enjoying and showing one's exclamation towards the brilliance of these bodies. There's nothing wrong. The only thing is one has to be objective to it. That's all. And it's an amazing blessing. Mind, amazing thing. What kind of creativity it brings. The kind of creativity you have seen in many ways, whether it is so many art forms are there. It's an amazing thing. At the same time, it also poses a problem because you have raga, you have dvesha. Both these keep coming. And the problem we have is when the situation is giving you ananda, it's okay. The moment you have dukkha, one has a problem. One wants to move away from dukkha and be with ananda. Now, this ananda, and that was I was saying was chit, is available as an ingredient everywhere. Just like space, which has no boundary. And in that we create objects and create a boundary. Just imagine a boundless thing. Now you are creating a thing which is bound with certain identity. Similarly, chit has no boundary, and that chit plus panchabhuta, becomes a jiva. Imagine that ultimate thing which is everywhere is a necessary ingredient in jiva happening. Just as this ultimate space, I'm using the word ultimate, but it's not ultimate. This ultimate space is a necessary ingredient in the formation of any object for that matter, even at a thought level. Just like that, for a jiva to happen, for an amoeba to identify itself, I am this, that I am is borrowed, basically, a lot of it is borrowed from this chit. And this chit only is everywhere. Okay, that is the ingredient. Now, this chit is of the form of Ananda. Ananda, why we should say Ananda? Actually, chit should not have any dukkha otherwise also. Okay. The reason it is mentioned is because from the angle of sadhaka, from the perspective of sadhaka, a person becomes a mumukshu because he has identified the limitation of being a balloon, and the innate pressure is there to become free. That pressure is very clearly identified. That's the reason he is pursuing this. That's why, we start this journey itself. Now, this chit, which is a necessary ingredient, which is otherwise, not bound at all, is there in that being. And this wrong koshas which are already there, they are the ones, who hold, which hold this ignorance. And hence this wrong identification. Now, when the body reacts with the world, these agents, okay, they bring in the sensory perception, and mind thinks, oh, this is a nice situation or whatever. But this very mind is able to sustain and get that cognitive ability only because of this chit which is inside. For example, examples can have a limitation, but as much as possible, I'll give a closest example. Okay. Now, when you have a bulb, okay, that's a body which can work based on the tattva of electricity. Now, if the bulb creates an ego, saying, oh, I am this bulb which can create, all these Vibgyor colors, and it has an ego, and it forgets even the electricity, basically, based on which the tattva is working actually. So now you can imagine, what kind of relationship is there. Chit is everywhere. That is the necessary ingredient for even that wrong identification to come about. And now this mind says, oh, I am everything. So that's where the problem is. No, I'm not everything, but I am this thing, and I exist, and I do this, I do that. So that says this actually. Now, any transactional ananda, basically Vishaya Ananda, results into Ananda because when you get a situation which is likable, mind and all this antakarana, they are subdued at that particular moment, for that moment. And this chit, which is unbound, is available without any inhibition as much as possible during those moments. Okay, you see your family, mother, father, wife, whosoever, after 1 year. So obviously, the pent-up desire which is there to see them, whatever you have been missing, right? That's going to result in Ananda as you see them. When you arrive at the airport, you just see them waiting with a placard or whatever it is. That itself is Ananda. When you see them, you are in a trance, and that situation subdues mind as much as possible, and the chit is reflected as much as possible in its near original situation. Since the chit is allowed to be in its near original situation, Ananda happens. That is the trick here one has to understand. That's what Shastra is, pointing out. And in this, there are 3 methods, 3 varying degrees of Ananda. One is called Priya. At the sight of the Vastu, for example, you see your mother after 1 year coming back to India. So at the sight, first, what you get as Ananda is graded as Priya. And when you are even more closer, you shake hands, it is Moda, even closer to it. And when you hug, probably, it is Pramoda. So basically, Gulab Jamun experience will be much more easier. Pardon me for those who have a sugar issue here. At the thought of a Gulab Jamun, you have a Ananda. So I have to just correct it. At the thought, first, you have this. And then at the sight of it, the next degree, Priya and Moda. And when you eat it, it is Pramoda, both. You have seen it as well as eaten it actually. So you have become one with it. Aikya. So Aikya is always enjoyable, at least in the case of food. It is always enjoyable. So, Ananda, which is experienced even during any of This Vishaya based Ananda, worldly pursuit, is originally belonging to the Chit only. Is because of the Chit only. Because the nature of Chit is to be happy. Because there is nothing second to it. That's the reason it is happy. There is nothing which is going to limit it. Limitation and sense of being limited is the problem. That's what we are fighting out now. Chit is that which has got no limitation. This is the reason when the Antahkarana, who become, the brokers for this happiness, they bring sense and they think sensory Ananda is important. They think so. And by eating that gulab jamun, only they were happy is the thinking they have. They have to be told that, boss, you are not brokering anything actually. You are there, it's okay, but I am already Ananda available here. So basically the Chit is of the nature of Ananda. Mind, when it gets something which it wants, it is subdued, and Ananda is much more reflecting. That's the reason Ananda happens. Mind should not get confused that it is because of its own punya and its own whatever effort that, and that the Ananda is there, and it is because of its tattva that the Ananda is there. No, Ananda is Swarupa. But this is not very clearly understood when normally we are in that Anandamaya. So in Anandamaya, suddenly you get a lottery, you win a lottery. Of course you will be in ecstasy. You will be, definitely. And you will not even go back to understand why did I even get this? Well, what kind of punya I have done in the past to really get this? Am I even worth getting this? No, you will just enjoy it. Just go ahead, freak out, maybe spend the money or invest. You will not even pause normally in the worldly life. Only those who come to, who have identified moksha as the sadhana and who have identified chitta shuddhi as the means, they will only think twice. Okay, fine. What am I supposed to do with this? So they will even distance a little bit from the result also. That's possible. But normally people will just enjoy what's happening, and this Ananda is available throughout our life, even if we do not pursue moksha. This Vishaya Ananda is always available in our life. Of course, you will have the other side of it also, Ananda, and the opposite of it when it is not. Both will be there. So this Anandamaya is a kind of kosha. It is a form of the subtle body or the causal body, you can say. This is more pronounced in deep sleep state. Deep sleep state is that where one does not dream. So as long as mind is active, mind is going to go with its own ideas of what is likable, what is dislikable, what is Ananda, what is not Ananda. Everything it is going to go with its own ideas. When mind is resolved, when mind, intellect, all this antahkarana, they are resolved, then there is no measurement happening actually. They're just keeping quiet, they are just with themselves. When this particular child or whatever this in us, which can create a problem, is sleeping, there is no more problem to be recognized. So, Chit, which is the basis of which all these things happening, is quite available during that time, and it is uninhibited, it is not disturbed, so that Ananda is experienced there at that level, though not consciously. Absence of confusion is also a blessing. Okay, one is to have clarity. The other way to look at it is absence of confusion. Okay, so during deep sleep, this mind, which has the propensity to have knowledge as well as ignorance and everything, is quite resolved and not manifest. It's more unmanifest at this point in time. At that point in time, since the sensory perception is not at all happening, there is no noise to that Ananda, which is the Swarupa Ananda. But the only problem is, we do not consciously enjoy that status. When mind resolves, you get that state. So that's a bad deal, right? It is only used by Shastra to point out that you are available as Ananda despite the time when mind is completely resolved. And mind is the one which is owning, mind and intellect, they are the ones which is owning, I am this. And I do this, I am like this, I am going to live for so many years. That's the one which is having all these things. When that is resolved, still that Ananda is there. When you get up, you say that I feel so fresh. This is the experience when you have deep sleep. This happens. And both time and space, both are gone in that particular world. So you do not know what was your size and who were you, first of all, when you have a deep sleep without any dream. And normally when you sleep, if dream happens, if the mind is alert, when you wake up, even in between your sleep, exactly you can, this is my experience, exactly you can say, is it 3 o'clock or is it 3:15? Exactly. Maybe 5 minutes here and there you can go wrong. Otherwise, you will be exact, bang on time, because the time clock keeps running. Many times, you see a watch stopped and then again you started, and you see that the time is picked up right only. So in computer also, you just shut off and then start again. The time always starts. So basically, it's like manifest and unmanifest. So in the case of deep sleep, mind is completely resolved, and happiness is just available because that is what the nature is. So the one who can confuse is not active at that point in time. That's the only thing. So Shastra is coming to this level, which is the fifth layer, so subtle, and explaining to the sadhaka, saying that, hey, look at this. This is also a boundary that you have created, and you identify yourself with that also. So give up all these 5 koshas. And it's very difficult to get more subtler than this actually, and one need not also get more subtler than this. So that's why Shastra has stopped at that. I'm sure there's nothing subtler than that, because when mind is already resolved, which is the one which has to actually think, pursue, even read Shastras. If that is resolved, we have gone to a state where that particular
no mind
situation also can be objectified. How? What is objectifying? Anything that you know has to be different from oneself. Normally, this does not apply only to self-knowledge, wherein the self is already self-evident. See, getting to know is either through perception or inference. So anything other than yourself, you have the opportunity to know them through the 5 senses. So they are all known. So it is not you. The entire Jagat is known. So it is not you. The knower is always different from the known, in the normal sense of this, whatever you see through sense organs. Through inference also, if you see wet roads in the morning, you know that it has rained at night. So that's through inference. So the knowledge form is either through perception or through inference. In both these, you have this mind and intellect involved. Only Swarupa is that which does not need another microscope to really show that, this is that Swarupa. You don't need any kind of a Karana to see that, because you are already that. You don't need to have another thing to, see that, and you don't need to see that because you are everything. Just imagine a case where, space has to see itself. Space is that big thing. Now, that infinity, if it has to see itself, it has to bring an infinite mirror also. How is it possible? Because it's already infinity. How can it bring another mirror that befits its size? So that mirror has to be bigger than its size to really show very clearly what this space is. Not possible. So similarly, this Chit, which is everywhere, is the basis of all beings. It is just that ignorance separates this being from this total Chit, and it creates a compartment. I am this. You have a company, and you have departments, and you have sub-departments. And you would have seen that some of these departments, they work so much that finally they don't even serve the final purpose of the company. To that extent, it can be even detrimental. So you have seen governments also. Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Industry, they have conflicts. One says, no, it's going to spoil environment, I'm not going to allow it. Other one says, boss, we need employment and we need to have industries in place. So you have some of them who create this identity. No, I am this inventory minister, I will just do what I'm supposed to do. So this identification, with Upadhi, that is called Upadhi actually. This Upadhi, in terms of those practical issues, is okay because you need those things. But unfortunately, in oneself, to have this wrong identification, these are all Upadhis. All these koshas, they are all Upadhis actually. to have the wrong understanding, it doesn't help the jiva, because the jiva is thinking that it is limited to this extent of body and mind and sense complex, whatever it is, and that's where the journey starts. So Shastra is poking a hole there, saying that, boss, this lack of understanding, this wrong understanding is the problem. So just understand this, and it is explained all this Sharira, dividing them into as many parts as possible, and dismissed it. So in this first verse, it was only explaining what is Anandamaya, and while explaining, I already kind of spoke about the other two verses as well. Now let me read the next verse. Anandamaya koshasya shushuptau spurtir utkata swapna jagarayo deshad ishta sandarshan adina. So I already touched upon this point. So for this Anandamaya to be at its full form, the conducive state is Sushupti. Swapna, Jagrati, Sushupti. Or Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti. Jagrata is waking state, Swapna is dreaming state, Sushupti is dreamless sleep state. So that is the conducive state in which this Anandamaya shines at the maximum. Why? Because the one who can create the noise, which is mind and intellect, they are completely resolved. So the noise creator is resolved, so automatically that Purna Ananda is almost there. The only difference is the moment this gentleman who is ignorant, who's identifying with all these panchakoshas, is going to wake up. The moment he is going to manifest, he is going to manifest with all his ignorance. So, okay, some people they do get some kind of answers to questions in their sleep. To that extent, yes, it helps. I'm not sure if Brahmajnana can happen in sleep. It's very doubtful, because it's a conscious effort and it has to be more conscious. Yes, even if Brahmajnana happen in sleep, that would be through a conversation, and that will be dream state, not sleep state. In the deep sleep state, mind is completely resolved. See, if mind has ignorance or lack of knowledge, it should be made available for knowledge to happen. Okay, if you have to learn English, you cannot send your kid to the school. You have to go yourself to learn that language. Similarly, if mind has this ignorance located in it, it should be available for a communication. Only then knowledge can occur, ignorance can be removed. In Anandamaya, what is happening? Mind is completely resolved. So the resultant state is Ananda, pure Ananda, there is no doubt. But unfortunately, when it is waking up, it is going to wake up as the same ignorant person. If you didn't know Gujarati before going to sleep, and I am assuming a deep sleep, deep sleep, I have a reason to say that. So if you are in deep sleep and mind again comes back, it's going to come with the same ignorance towards Gujarati. It will not know Gujarati just because it has slept and it's got some knowledge, because it's completely resolved. I'm cautious to not use this Swapna Avastha because I've myself experienced that during Swapna Avastha, you get answers to your worldly problems. For example, one example I can share with you, in 11th standard, 12th standard, beginning of 12th standard, there was this problem in integration, integral square root of minus secant theta. This was the problem. So there is one step you have to introduce. After that, the problem can be resolved. But I was just wondering, who knew this? Who coined this first step? That you have to, I wanted to understand it. I asked the teacher, he could not explain. He said, Bhaskar, the answer is there. You just use it and then get the marks. I didn't stop there. I wanted to find as to how this can be solved in a different way, because I wanted to create the answer myself. Because I didn't get the know-how of how the answer was being made. But I wanted it. That night, maybe you can say early morning, 3:30, I had this answer that you just introduce I. This is, square root of minus 1 is I. It's an imaginary number, right? So you just introduce I by I outside the integrand and an integral, and take this into the integral later, that becomes an integrand. So by doing that first step, then you can solve the problem, is what I got as a solution. So basically from my, and many more I have got during dream. So during dream, mind is still available and active. And knowledge can happen even during dream, because Antakarana has memories. Antakarana has all the logical and algorithm stuff which is there available in mind, and intellect is also producing all that. So within the same system, it can just churn out the results, and each one can talk to each other, and the results can happen. But in the case of deep sleep, we are saying mind is completely resolved. So when mind is resolved, one can understand happiness after waking up by inference. Oh, I was so happy, I felt so happy. But not during sleep, because mind is the one which is supposed to understand pain, pleasure, everything normally. But it is resolved. So that's the reason Brahma Jnana cannot happen during that. Though it is Ananda, at that time you cannot say that today I am going to go into deep sleep and I'm going to freeze myself at that stage, in that state, so that I do not get back to the problem of the world of problems at all. It doesn't work. If you are frozen for 1,000 years, after that when you wake up, this mind will wake up with the same level of knowledge and ignorance. This is why, while one is awake, also in the class, also in the sessions, while one is awake, this inquiry has to happen, this ignorance has to be removed, this knowledge has to be given as an antidote to this ignorance. So while awake, Ramya is here, Ramya is laughing here. So while being awake, one should be able to dispel and call out the impermanence and insignificance of mind and intellect as anitya vastu, and simultaneously understand oneself to be that ultimate.
इंटरनेट का प्रॉब्लम
यही है, यू लॉस्ट योर इंटरनेट कनेक्शन. अपना इंटरनेट है.
Actually, he's only leased it out of you, and you are the ultimate owner, and you keep your composure, so you're not going to do anything, because you just keep like Chit, you are just there, Nirguna Brahma, you're just there. You have allowed him to be there actually, that existence you have given him. But this guy goes around saying that I am this, kind of this, I am Vijay Mallya, all this, he claims all these things actually. You'll be really laughing, what the hell this guy is saying actually. I have given him the entire existence, and this is going to be there only for 5 years, long-term lease, so-called 10 years. After the 11th year, after the 10th year, he's going to go out. I don't know what he's going to say outside, and he's claiming this is building. Like that, these Panchakosha, they actually thrive on the basis of this Chit. And they claim an identity which is separate from this Chit. And that's where you go to gym, you become 50 kgs, you become 36 waist or whatever it is, and say, this is me. All this is come from world, which itself is anitya. So this understanding of one being everything, one being that ultimate self, which is basically available in us as Chit. So you have to connect also with it, right? You cannot totally be clueless about in what nature this ultimate creator is available in me. How is he shining in me? He is there as the Chit. The very consciousness, the very cognitive ability, the ultimate ability of someone to cognize is that Chit. And what stops us, what deviates us is, rather are, these kosha. The mind can play amazing games. And it plays a game as though it is everything. While borrowing, just like I said, the sublessee, not even lessee, sublessee. This guy claims ownership actually. The mind does that actually. This is where the problem is. These filters the moment you identify with the help of Shastra and throw them as filters, the one who's the original is available very clearly. And you don't need to erase them this way. The problem is mental. The problem is ignorance. Ignorance is not physical, it is mental. This is the reason mind can be called for the pursuit, given the treatment, and the ignorance can be neutralized. Mind need not be neutralized. The ignorance located in that mind alone has to be neutralized. So, for example, when you have virus in any of the medium, you don't put it in fire actually. All that we do is we remove virus and the other item is available intact even after that. Similarly, in a jiva, though Shastra says, boss, this Annamaya is useless. You have seen that, that journey, this Panchakosha, where identified, explained, and said that, oh, this is not that Atma. What nonsense. It can never be that Atma. So now, you can't say that after the first class, okay, Annamaya is useless. Now I'm throwing away Annamaya. To next class, I'll go as Pranamaya. It doesn't help. It doesn't work that way. You have to come as a package of Shariratraya or Panchakosha only, even when sadhana is happening. This is a vehicle. This vehicle, for example, when we launch a satellite, okay, basically the satellite alone has to reach either Chandra or wherever it has to go, whatever is the target place. Only the satellite has to go. But unfortunately, satellite alone cannot be shifted. No, if that was there and you will just put the satellite alone, it needs a vehicle. So the vehicle has its own tattva. So that has to use some fuel and create an opposite energy. You have this Newtonian stuff which is coming there, equal and opposite reaction stuff. So when the fuel pushes this side, that vehicle goes up. So that vehicle is very important to have there. It has a utility. So the satellite cannot say that, oh, what the hell, I am the one who's going to be there. Why this vehicle is required? It can't say that. So when a sadhaka, though he understands that Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, they are all Sharira, Anitya, keeps changing, useless, I have to throw them out. He cannot throw them out physically. He has to continue attending the class with those Panchakosha and with those three bodies only. We are removing the virus by introducing jnana. We are removing the ignorance by bringing it closer to jnana and letting it thrive the way it wants to thrive with jnana, with the new understanding. Moksha is while a person is living. This is the reason we have this concept of Jivan Mukta. While living, you are liberated. That is where you enjoy it actually. Otherwise, many a times people say, I have got enough money now. Rather, I am going to accumulate enough money until I am 60 years. And some people even take retainership. After 60th year also, no, I want to keep working. I don't know whether it's meant for money or just to keep someone engaged. See, if you want to get engaged, it's a different thing. But if we think that I will earn and create enough money for my so-called spending, I don't know how long I'm going to be there after 60, but I want to earn enough money and to spend there. If that is the thinking, many a time they'll be foolish because after that they do not know how long they're going to be. So reserving things for the later does not work at all. So here also, it is not that one by one body you have to leave and all. It is just that come, get the ignorance done. While living, you should be liberated, not after death. This is not a punya we are going to earn so that next Janma we will become the Prime Minister. No. We are using Vairagya as a part of sadhana to be able to come out of all these benefits and rewards. And then only we are getting this knowledge. And this knowledge is useful when a person is still living. That is the reason the concept of Jivan Mukta is there. Now, coming back to Anandamaya. Anandamaya is the sheath created there where mind is resolved, and hence Ananda is very clearly identified. It is shining there. However, it doesn't have the clear understanding. Mind is going to wake up with the same ignorance. That's the reason that is not a complete state. And the next line only says that this Anandamaya is also not that Pratyagatma. It cannot befit that because again it is made of a boundary, and that Pratyagatma has no boundaries. So Anandamaya also has to be thrown out as a wrong identity. So you are not that Anandamaya also. So with these 5, Shastra has very clearly identified what is this person in terms of a sadhaka. It has threadbare seen all these things, and it has shown all these levels which we can't even imagine. And at that level, subtle level, it is disputing, saying, boss, this is not you. Now who's me? That will come in the subsequent verses. With this, we'll pause. I know this, we have taken another 18 minutes more than our original time. I'm opening up the session for questions. Those who need to go now, they can say Hari Om and they can leave. And those who would like to ask questions, I am available for answers. Actually, I forgot to record this session for the benefit of those who are not here. I'm not sure if someone else has recorded.
Bhaskarji, I have recorded the session. So in case...
Shikhaji, thank you so much. I'll take it from you later.
Okay.
And I've recorded the sessions from verses 45 onwards. I'm struggling to make a kind of a video format and share it with everyone through YouTube or wherever. Maybe today also I'll try to do that, and once I do that I can share.
I have all of the recordings.
I have the audio recordings. I don't have the video.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll convert that into a video. I'll take it from you.
Okay.
I'll convert that into a video and then share it with everyone.
Okay.
I'll do that. Any question from anyone? Mahadev, I can see today after a long time.
Yes, Master.
So, Bhaskarji,
Mahadev, you missed some of the sessions, but I know you would have read the book.
Yeah.
so Bhaskar sir, the one thing which is coming out very clearly from all this is that everything and anything which we need to achieve has to be achieved only in this life. There
Yes.
can be in this life. So all the koshas, everything, whatever you do, has to get resolved in this life.
Yes.
There is no second chance.
No, not like that. No, not like that. I'll correct it actually. There is every second chance. The only thing is one has to understand the difficulties. Okay. Now, assuming a person has come to a level of getting into IIT, he is cracked and is materially successful, CEO of a company, enough money, and now he has a choice. One is that having had enough money, you are not having worries actually. And in case you develop mumukshutvam and really want to know the next level of IIT research, saying that I want to know what is the ultimate, you crack it and you don't have to be born again. The problem with next birth is more a practical issue. Again, you have to learn ABCD, no? That pain, if someone understands, they'll be more mature to not get into that problem at all. Every time you've seen, you have prodigies, where they come with some knowledge already. I mean, they just come and they pick up a violin and play. I don't know how the hell they do this, but they do this. You've seen one girl, 4-5 years onwards, she's been playing like someone who's been learning for 10 years kind of. So we see these examples definitely, but we also see the percentage of it. It's hardly any percentage, 0.000 some decimal percentage. People really pick up the skills and nuances as well into the next birth. Very rare. So if that is such a rarity, it's better to be matured to understand that no, whatever I've learned, I've become an IIT and this research, that research. Let me understand everything now. Also learning Vedanta, let me not have another birth. And it is again not an issue to see in the other way also. Shastra says all that is here is that Brahman, that ultimate cause. If that is that ultimate cause, even without understanding so much of Vedanta, I know, whether I understand it or not, I have Shraddha in Shastra. So it is saying I am Ishvara even now. If I am Ishvara even now, next birth also I am going to be Ishvara only. Why should I worry about it? Because mumukshutvam, that I said, the propensity of that air to come out of that balloon will always be there. Again, you are filled into another balloon, you want to come out. That mumukshutvam will be there. The only thing is, what is the degree of that mumukshutvam? if the degree is so much, if the pressure is so much, it will quickly get into this discussion and it will find the right person to burst that bubble. If not, the problem is only where the mumukshutvam is there and it is not recognized and it is stuck with this Vishayananda. If it is stuck with Vishayananda, that becomes an endless struggle actually, and that's where we keep performing transactions. We always keep transacting, and the transaction can end into either papa or punya. It keeps happening. You can't avoid it all. You want to keep tranquility. You get into a crowd, you get into a queue, and you have the value of standing in a queue. Okay, so you have to test yourself. If there are 10 guys violating, maybe the first guy you will allow, second guy you will allow, third guy you will allow. By the time this has gone to the 10th guy, violating the queue, you would have become a person who would want to just kill that guy by that time, throw him out of it. So you end up slapping him, you end up abusing him, whatever. So automatically you got up, that day and you wanted to have tranquility. You ended up having whatever kind of a different tranquility. So transactions invariably end either in a papa being committed or punya being committed. That neutral thing is not that possible. So you keep on having another karma. For that again you have to get another birth. In that birth you have to get slapped again. So all this happens. That's an endless thing. Karma is endless. It is better to come out of that. I mean, for example, you put the car in 5th gear, and there is enough throttle. It will keep going. It will keep going because there is enough throttle that is there actually. So the disengagement is required. Either you change the gear to neutral, or if that is not possible, press the clutch. So any throttle happening here does not affect motion. So something like that. Though you know all this problem, when you are going more closer towards that ultimate which doesn't change, then this worldly problem do not arise. But for all these things, you need experience, you need sadhana, and you need vichara. So this is a tricky process. This is a very difficult process. Yes, definitely. So it is not worth to wait for another birth or many more births when this may happen. So it is better not to leave it to chance. That's the reason. From that angle, it is a mature choice to complete the pursuit when you already have all this blessing. That's all. From that angle. Otherwise, it is Ishvara all the way. It is just him all the way, whether it is in this birth or next birth. It is Ishvara. Whatever is here, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahmasi. It is that Brahman everywhere. So in that understanding, one can be very, very free, one can be peaceful, that I am that Ananda anytime, whether I know or not, very consciously. At least my elders have told me, Shastra is telling me, all that is here is only the manifestation of the Lord. I am that only, so why I should worry so much. That attitude is fine. But the only thing is, this comes to a full cycle when it is an assimilated knowledge and not only a listened knowledge. When it is an ultimate knowledge as a first-hand understanding, yes, I am that Brahman, I am that ultimate. That stops, that removes and neutralizes the ignorance, which is the seed for next birth. So basically, a seed has a propensity to grow again. If it is fried, it loses the propensity. Though every ingredient in that is there, the necessary ingredient, which is ignorance, is killed. Similarly, in Jiva, when ignorance is killed, it loses its propensity to grow again. That's all.
Correct.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes. I have one more question, which is...
Yeah, please go ahead.
Say, when we talk about Ananda or bliss, so the basic nature of Atma is to be in Ananda always. Bliss always. But this is the only thing which we are searching for. Where when we know that this is the basic nature, we always like the Atma is always in a state of bliss. But as a human being, the only thing which we are searching for is bliss.
It is ignorance.
Thinking it is from the world actually. Thinking that it is happening, the cause effect is, there is a misplaced understanding in terms of the cause effect. So we think that Ananda is happening because I got something from the world, or I avoided someone who's in the world. So this kind of a thing, ragadvesha based ananda is a misplaced understanding. And that's the default understanding. And that's what Shastra is calling out, actually saying this is the default understanding, change your understanding. That's what it is saying. And the word ananda is also used only relatively, because mind only understands happiness and unhappiness. And anyone, without a doubt, when you ask which one you prefer, the answer is very obvious. And Shastra is using that word to give as carrot to the sadhaka. You want happiness all the time? Come. The nature is ananda only. I will get you that. So the sadhaka only understands that language. That is the reason ananda is used. Otherwise, actually it is ananta.
Yes.
Because we are looking at that nitya vastu.
Yes.
So we are looking at the nitya vastu, and Shastra is saying, boss, you are that nitya vastu. So it is ananta. So the original statement of our problem was that I have the sense of being limited in time, in space. Now, Shastra is saying the creator is ultimate. He is not bound by time and space. Time and space are concepts emerging from this ultimate only. They are subset. The universal set is this Ishvara. Now, when that understanding comes, that's when, we have to introspect, understand what is the Purnananda. Basically, Ananta is the nature. For that to be ever existing, everlasting, is the nature. Ananta is the nature. And our problem was being limited, Anitya Vastu. That's where we started. Now Shastra is saying, no, you are not Anitya at all, you are Ananta. So the word Ananta does not help so much to the sadhaka at that point in time when it starts. Ananda makes a better linkage to that person. That's the reason Ananda is used as the word. But the original thing is Ananta. It is the only Vastu which exists without a second. It is the only Vastu. Okay, it being the only Vastu, how does it help me? That is me only. You are the only Vastu which is existing. Now, when I make this statement, it is very confusing. Okay, what the statement I am saying is what is coming. When I say this to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, when I'm saying to 8 and plus 1 here, 9 persons saying you are that ultimate, you are that one thing, and there is only one thing in this world, and that thing happens to be you. So I'm addressing already 9 persons. 9 persons will think, okay, I have been told, and everyone else also has been told at the same time. How is it possible? So that again, this understanding will come from this boundary of ignorance and wrong identification only. This is the reason Shastra has to, take a person through the journey to say that first that chit, which is, we can't say the word in. Due to mind limitation, we have to say in you. That chit is everywhere, that is you. In that only everything is happening. So that's the reason it has to find a technique to, deliver that. So Ananda is relatively used only because mind can understand that. Otherwise, actually it is limitless, Ananta. I think it's also mentioned by Swamiji in the verses itself.
Thank you.
Good. So as I said, as we go to the second part of Vichara, it will be very, very subtle. That's how it is designed, and that's how it has to be also, because the problem we have is also at the very, very subtle level, and Shastra has to go into that level like a bunker buster. It has to go to that level, ignorance is, Maya. So it creates such a nice bunker that over a point it will say, no, I think this Shastra, probably there's a problem in what this person is saying. Maybe all that, some other system may be much better actually, because it wants to escape the problem of being killed in terms of ignorance, getting away from the ignorance. So its status is questioned, mind status is questioned. So mind will give all ideas. This is where Maya is actually. It will say, let me create a bunker. Saying that, okay, I think this knowledge is maybe for later and I don't understand now. This is one thing. Second thing, probably Buddhism is better, because there is, some other practice which is being told which appeals me more. So let me get away from this. All this mind will try. Or perhaps Dvaita is more easier. If I see Krishna in front of me, I'm much more in peace actually. I don't need to worry too much about Dimag lagane wali baat. I don't have to so much inquire, First you inquire. For inquiry, you need sadhana. This is also a problem, that is also a problem. Let us get away. Again create a bunker. So mind will create bunker against Vedanta. It will create, and that is its nature to create it actually. Please be very clear. Have your bunker buster in your hands. You have to bust the bunkers. Only then mind can be located like those guys, and the ignorance can be located and killed. Otherwise, this is going to wake up in another Janma also with the same kind of limited understanding. That is what it will come up with. So that's where I think it's a very tricky thing. Please remember, sadhana plus vichara is the only formula. It's not I am saying this, Shankaracharya is saying that. Okay.
Okay.
If there is no questions, no more question, we can chant the concluding mantra.